Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kallas with your host, Joe Staszak, and my co-host, the newly married Stephen Kallas, had an opportunity to go to his wonderful wedding reception yesterday with his beautiful bride, Joyce. Steve, congratulations, my friend.
Thanks, Joe. I'm a very lucky guy, as you know.
You are a lucky guy. It was a tremendous event. Glad to be there. Met your kids, met the whole Steve Kallas crew. Loved it. Had a really good time, man. You definitely picked a winner. All right, let's talk this past week, the MLB All-Star Game. Usually just kind of like a footnote or whatever. This was a little bit more interesting. The National League hung on to win, and so they will have the home field advantage for the No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
That ridiculous
Thankfully,
that ridiculous rule was out of here. But they
thankfully.
right, they had a 6-0 lead. American League came back to tie it, and then they had, for the first time ever, a swing off.
Swing.
Which, All-Star games can get gimmicky, but they're testing some things, and then, we might get to the balls and strikes too. But I thought it was interesting, and not just because Kyle Schwarber won the MVP with 3 home runs, which was probably going to hurt the team long term because he's a free agent at the end of the year, and that might boost his stock. But I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool, and a little bit of little drama because Schwarber. I mean, even the I don't know who was doing the game, if it was Smoltz or where he goes Schwarber. If he hits the first one, he's going to hit 3 in a row. I was like, wow, and he did. It was pretty impressive. I thought the game was pretty interesting, and the big guy, Jacob Mazurowski or whatever his name is from Milwaukee, actually pitched very well. There's a little controversy in this town. Phillies, as an organization, were not happy that they sent him, who he pitched in 5 games before, and he did well. I don't know why they were complaining because Zach Wheeler decided not to go, and he was, selected to start the game. So a couple guys left early and didn't get in the swing off. It's, they're doing the best they could do, I guess, considering what it is. What'd you think?
Well, I think the swing off is kind of a ripoff from the NHL doing their after an extra 5 minutes, by the way, of overtime, as you know.
And three on
But
three.
doing the shootout, which I guess is just like the swing off, and they said that might be coming to baseball. I hope at a minimum, look, I'm so against the runner on second base in the 10th inning.
I can't stand
Maybe
that.
they should have started that in the 12th inning. That would be the equivalent of 5 minutes of overtime in hockey. But notice the NHL, thankfully and hopefully forever, that doesn't happen in the playoffs. So I think baseball might go with this plan. And there's rumors already, I don't know about next year, there's rumors that that might happen. But if it happens, there's no way you can do it in the playoffs. Now, they don't do the man on second base in the 10th inning in the playoffs,
No,
correct?
no.
So they see the obvious. This is maybe, I don't know, to try and wrap it up quicker.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole
It
idea.
was, I've said for years as a joke, why not have a home run derby to end the game? And that's the equivalent of what this is. But I'll say it again. If they're going to do it in the regular season, I think it will. It's kind of been a success in hockey. But I remember when I was a kid, and the Rangers were terrible and the Canadians were king. And I went to the Garden with my father for, $3 up in the balcony. If the Rangers tied the Montreal Canadiens back then, that was a victory.
Right,
They got
exactly.
1 point, that was a victory.
Got a point out of it.
Now with inflated points in hockey, which they never talk about because for the first time in hockey, you can get 3 points in a game, right? If
Yeah.
you're tied at the end of regulation, you each get one. And when you have the shootout, that team gets two. So you now have 3 points in the game. That was an impossibility in hockey for decades. So that kind of screws up to me the record book when did the Bruins break the record a few years ago or whatever?
It's 62 wins, I think. Something.
Yeah, and I
They were
went back and
champion.
looked at, the Canadian, whoever had the highest had 11 ties that year.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I don't want to get into that too much. Look, I think it's kind of entertaining for an exhibition game. Again, once upon a time, as you know, when there was no interleague play, the NL against the AL was one of the biggest games of the year. Was it an exhibition game? Yes. But this was the only time, if you're in an AL city, you could see Willie Mays or Roberto Clemente or fill in the blank. Or if you were in a American League, a National League city, is the only time you'd see Mickey Mantle or Joe DiMaggio
Oh, I
or
loved it. I mean, it
the
was a
blank.
big deal. You're watching
Right. So
Pete
now
Rose knock down Ray
it's never
Fosse
gonna
and
right. It's
the
never gonna be
throw
a
from
big
Willie
deal.
Stargell. What's that?
Yeah, it's never gonna be a big deal like that again. So they're just trying to find something, and I think maybe they found something that would be good in the All-Star game. I'd be a little disappointed if they do it in baseball. I think already the man on second in the 10th inning is a joke. It's not baseball to me. And I'd almost prefer like a home run derby, but I'll say it again, it shouldn't be after 9 innings. You got to give them the 5 minutes in hockey. Tell me it's an inning. Tell me it's 2 innings in baseball. But you should give the teams a chance to win the way they won for 150 years or whatever it is now. But all in all, it's the whole world is that's entertainment, and that's entertainment. And give Schwarber credit because he's a home run hitter. He hit another one yesterday, I think.
Grand slam.
He's a home run hitter. So, it is what it is. This is what baseball is going to decide to do. It's a little more interesting with the balls and strikes. That first challenge ever was obviously a strike. The umpire called it the ball, and they used the computer or the robot to overturn it. But there's other talk, as you know, that the robots might take over balls and strikes. I'm not against an electrified strike zone. I'm just a little worried how you're going to do the stance because
So,
stances change during at bats.
yeah, I mean, it's not the same strike zone for everyone. They measure, I think, 53% from of your height and 27% from your bottom for every batter. But you brought up something in pre-production. Pete Rose used to crouch like this. Why wouldn't you then just crouch like that in the first pitch and then take a normal at bat? I mean, there's got to be like some loopholes that they can't get around. They
I
got to
think
figure
that's
it out.
right. We'll see what happens.
Rob Manfred, we've called him some names over the course of time, especially when he didn't know about Rawlings owning the company that owns the baseballs with that, and the when the ball was flying out, not flying out. Some of the rules he's implemented has, I think, made baseball a better game. Like he has, look, the pitch clock worked. Now
You're
there's
right.
the goofy things like this, the runner on second. When I saw that like 2 years ago, COVID was way over, and I saw that. I'm like, wait, they still have that? That's terrible. Get that out of there. But a lot of things he did, and they're being like different. They're not. Look, you got the old timers and the purists, I guess, that don't like the changes. But I think it's more, especially for younger kids today who got no attention span. It makes you go quicker. I kind of like some of the things he's done.
I don't disagree with that.
Some of the things he's done. So it was actually very interesting. And then back to work. Teams are back to work. Cubbies are now the top team in Major League Baseball in terms of wins, and they have a real shot of doing anything.
I think they do. They're 59 and 39. They shut out the Red Sox yesterday, 6-0. They came in and beat the Yankees after the Yankees killed them 11-0. They beat the Yankees 2 out of 3. It's right before the All-Star break. No, they're for real. But I think there's just some surprise teams. I mean, look at the Tigers. Now, look, I'm no AJ Hinch fan. Is that his name, AJ Hinch?
Yeah,
Because for the rest of his life, he cheated. He knew they were doing it on the Astros. Remember, he broke the TVs in the dugout
sure,
twice?
sure.
He knew. And he'll say, "Oh, I got a year suspension." If it was the old days, talk about gambling. If it was the old days, he would have got life.
Yeah.
And Cora somehow landed on his feet.
Alex Cora, like the next year, ended up with a championship team in the Red.
So I forever will think that's wrong. And that's not a Yankee bias. That's just any team that cheats and you find out they cheated. And of course, they had to give them all immunity. Otherwise, they wouldn't have found
I
out
wouldn't
they
have said
cheated.
anything, right?
I mean, what a racket that turned out to be. But Tigers are real good. I should point out that it was Skeens pitched the first inning of the All-Star team for the National League, had a lights out 1-2-3 inning, 2 strikeouts, and he got judged.
He's great. Yeah,
Ground
Ski is the
out.
real
And
deal.
then Scooble gave up a couple of cheap hits. It was interesting. I think it's a good idea to mic a pitcher and a catcher. They again trying to be different.
Right.
They mic'd them, and then Scooble had the catcher. They had the first challenge in the history of baseball. It was an 0-2 pitch. I think that was right down the middle. Was definitely a strike. The umpire called it the ball. They went to the computer. They reversed it, the first reversal ever. And Scooble turned around to like his infielders and said, "Got to take him any way you can get him because that's the first strikeout ever in the history of baseball on a reversed
On a
call."
reverse call.
But I think that's coming. Look, I've been for an electrified strike zone for years, but as you said, there's going to be some problems that nobody's going to figure out because if it's based on your first at bat, your first pitch, you're going to squat as low as you can squat.
Right.
Even big sluggers will. So there'll be problems with that, but I think an electrified strike zone will be better than umpires. When they say umpires, they get, whatever the number is, 95, 97%. Yeah, but 80% of them anybody can call.
Right.
85% of them anybody can call. But on the close pitches with the boxes they have now, you see the umpires miss a bunch all the time. And as everybody knows, a 1-1 pitch that's called a strike makes the at bat so much different
Big
than a
difference when you're behind the counter,
ball.
your head 1-2.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. They're still looking to make changes again. If you can, for example, tennis, the difference is in tennis, the lines don't move. But when you see what they do with tennis and the ball on the line,
Sure.
that's incredible. I just don't know if that can be translated into baseball because there's movement. I don't think, these aren't just here are the lines, although maybe that's what they're going to try to do. But then that could change batting stances and things of that nature. But I think they're still trying. I give them credit. I was always down on Manfred because he shafted Pete Rose like all those other commissioners when Bart Giamatti, before he died, said the Hall of Fame has nothing to do with this, with him getting suspended for life. It has to do with you, the writers, you vote for him. And nobody ever picked up on that. And now they Ron Santo Pete Rose, right? Pete Rose will get into the Hall
He'll
of
get
Fame.
in. Yeah,
Sure.
they waited till he.
So will Shoeless Joe, by the way.
Yeah, which is
Um,
nice. Well, let me ask you this: if they're going to move the strike zone, the batter gets up, he's about to take his first pitch, and they do the calculation. It's probably done very quickly with a computer, and they
yeah.
move it to where it is. Why couldn't you do that for the second at bat too? Just go boom. That's where he's standing this time. I mean, that would eliminate this and trying to cheat.
That's a good point, and hopefully somebody with some power is listening to you because that's one option. It'll narrow it down to each at bat instead of all your at bats.
Right.
But I just think there's going to be some problems there. I'm for it, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know how much you can do without having some loopholes that will turn it into a joke.
Sure. No, I agree with you there. So
Oh, one other thing I did
yeah,
want to mention, if you haven't seen it, you got to find the tape. Friday night, Ronald Acuna from right field threw out Vivas of the Yankees at third base. He was tagging from second. This was not a short fly ball. It was not an average fly ball. This was a high fly ball to deep right field. Acuna's running over from right field towards the foul line. He's almost on the track, not quite. Not too far from the foul line. Maybe I shouldn't say, maybe 15, 20 feet. I'm not sure. He throws a strike to third. That's a Clemente throw, and I hardly ever say that. It's a Clemente throw, and Vivas, I guess, thinking he was just going to walk in at third, got tagged out standing up. This is the throw of the year. And if you ever want to see what Clemente could do, see this throw. So it was Friday night, Yankees at Braves. I don't remember what inning, but I'm sure you can just find Acuna
sure.
throws out Vivas at third base. And that's one of these Clemente throws that you just don't see in baseball. There's a few guys with guns, don't get me wrong. Clemente used to do that automatically. I think he led the league in assists a bunch of times when he was a player. And then eventually you stop running on the guy because he's got such a gun. But Acuna has a gun and he made an incredible throw, the most incredible throw I've seen in a number of years. And people should try and, find that out if you can.
No, I hear you. Football, 7 Sundays away, 45 days till opening night. TJ Watt just came into some money in Pittsburgh. I'm sure that'll set the bar for other guys. Like I don't know if Trey Hendrickson, because you know how cheap Cincinnati is, but he's getting some bucks out there in Pittsburgh.
Cheap defensively, not offensively, right? For
Right. Oh,
the
right. Yeah. And in Pittsburgh, they put all their money into the defense. You know, they are the uh, least, their payroll is the smallest for offense in football and highest for defense in football. And that's kind of their formula. But unless you have a quarterback and we'll see what Aaron Rodgers can do for 1 year. They're kind of
they
piecemeal.
don't have a quarterback, they have
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Exactly.
We'll see. He's no Tom Brady, that's all I'll say. So far, so
So
far.
far, that's correct.
The other one is, of course, Von Miller. I know this is not Von Miller, isn't quite Von Miller, but he's still Von Miller. He's got some talent. He's got some Super Bowl MVP, right? Wasn't he the
He
MVP one
was
year?
the MVP of the Super
But
Bowl
he signed a 1-year contract
with
with the
Denver.
Commanders. The Commanders, to me, are a coming team. We saw what they did last year, and that's really their first year together. And you bring in an experienced vet like Von Miller, he can help a lot on the field and he can help a lot off the field. So they're a team to watch. I understand they're in an incredibly tough three-team division. We can't count the Giants yet, but certainly with the Eagles and the Cowboys, the Commanders, I think they're going to be right there with the Eagles. We'll see what happens to the Eagles defensively once the season starts. But I think that's a real good under the radar signing. And I'll say it again, these veterans who can play from time to time at their prior level are also big in the locker room, big helping young linebackers or pass rushers or whatever. Uh, but you're right, I can't wait 7 Sundays from now.
It's
40
coming.
45 days is even less than 7 Sundays, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I can't wait for that, of course. None of us can.
I sat next to your kindergarten friend Wayne yesterday, and he actually asked me about the Commanders. He said, "Can they hang with the Eagles?" I said, "Over the term, long haul of the season," I said, "I don't think so, but I think they're going to take another step in that direction. I don't think they're quite there yet, although they took such a big jump the year before. That's why I kind
Right.
of don't think. I mean, it's hard to most teams that take that big a jump. I think they went from 4 wins to 12 wins in one year. They come back a little bit to the mean, but still they've done a lot defensively. Still got to get Terry McLaurin signed. I know he's been a stud wide receiver, and he's Jay Daniels' go-to guy. I mean, I'm sure that'll happen over the course of the next 4 weeks. I also think Dallas might be better than people think, depending on Dak. I mean, I know. Micah's looking for his bucks. I don't know why Jerry does things the way he does down there, but if they're healthy, I don't know about Schottenheimer. I'm not going to kill him yet. I didn't think it was the sexiest hiring of a coach who's never been a coach, and you had some guys out there, but Jerry does things his way. But I think you're right. Unless the Giants make a huge leap, because they do have a quarterback or two this year, and I like the direction they're going, but I don't think they're ready. I think it could be a three-team race in the NFC East, and one of those teams, I'm sorry, let me turn that down, got their rings the other night. All right. Now I know that we don't talk much about rings, but I mean they're getting bigger and bigger. They look like doorknobs. They really do. And I did a breakdown. I did an article on it. So Jostin, the reason it was delayed, it was supposed to be in June. They weren't ready. They just weren't ready because there's so many intricate diamonds and this and you can order. The team can order, well, up to 150, the league will pay, they'll kick in $6,000 per ring. So that's about $900,000 the NFL kicks in. The rest is the team,
Wow.
and on average, about teams order 400 to 500 rings. You got all the staff, you got the executives, you got friends and family. It gets a little pricey. So I estimated that Jeff Lurie kicked out $500 million for the rings. $500 million.
I, you know who the champion is. I totally believe in rings and all that stuff. But what you've seen in the last, I don't know, 10 years, going back to the Patriots, of course, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I always have in the back of my head, there's a picture of Yogi Berra with 10 rings. He has more World Series than ever. And there's also, of course, Bill Russell with 11.
Bill Russell 111.
And when you look at those rings, they look like in
They're
size, they look like
absolutely.
nothing rings, but they mean a whole lot more when you got, 10 or 11 or 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever. But now it's like, can you top this, which I think is a little ridiculous. How great would it be if one team announces after they've won maybe 2 Super Bowls, if they announce, yeah, we're just going to have regular rings, we're going to donate, I don't know, you tell me, 20 million? We'll donate 20 million to, I don't know, homeless shelters or drug rehabilitation or fill in the blank.
No, I agree with you. Well, I'll tell you what, their value went up a lot, did the Eagles. I kind of did a comparison. All right, how much does it cost a team for rings, and then how much does it cost in terms of their valuation? Jeff Lurie bought the team for 185 in 1994. I'm
Wow.
sure if it said exactly how much. Um, I know the team is now worth 6.4 billion. So that's a pretty that's an increase in 33,059%.
It's a good investment. Yeah.
That's pretty good investment. So they did pretty well. Oh, and the one thing on it that they thought my friend was kidding when he said you push a button on the back of it and the wings on the front pop out like this.
No, look, it's becoming can you top this? But at some point it gets stupid because
That's
it's
exactly what it
a
is.
ring. It's a
That
ring.
that's exactly what it is. So I'm not even sure why they are. It's a little gimmicky for me, but it was done. It still looks pretty cool. That's the Eagles. So what do you want from me? What else we got to cover? NBA, anything going on? I mean, what's going on with the Suns and Damian Lillard going back to Portland now?
If you got season tickets, you want a refund because they're waving the white flag. Look, they gave Booker all that money. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but they gave him all that money as KD's, leaving. And now Bradley Beal bought out by the Suns. So he didn't apparently, I don't know if he wanted out. I guess he did, but they buy out Bradley Beal, who's a heck of a player when he's healthy. He was lost at the Wizards for a long time, if you recall. But he signs a 2-year, 11 million. I think that's that now that veterans, whatever they call it,
Sure.
mid-level exception. 2 years, 11 million with the Clippers. Now, I always liked the Clippers, but they never could get over the top. I don't know how much more Kawhi has left in them. I don't know how much more Harden has left in them, but they always seem to me to be a good team with a chance. But now the West is so tough. OKC, what? The youngest or second youngest
They're
team
the
in the
youngest team in the league.
and they signed all those guys through 2030. We talked about
Boku
them.
Bucks for the
Eight,
core.
822 million for three players long term, but they're the big three, and they showed it this year. And thankfully, there are guys who got paid after winning a championship, which again, in the NFL for sure, all those quarterbacks, none of
It's
them have won a
projection, yeah.
championship. So I don't know what Phoenix is doing. I'd love to hear like talk about to the GM or something because they're letting stars and a superstar in Durant get away and they're giving Booker them, and Booker's a great player, don't get me wrong, but what's he going to do by himself? I don't know what they're doing. So that's to me, that's the big question mark. Of course, we already talked about the Knicks and their new coach. They apparently didn't have a new coach lined up when they fired Tibbs. Apparently, Mike Malone didn't get an interview because they might view him to be Tibbs-like. I don't think he's as bad as Tibbs in that area. And I'll say it again, he was the only guy out there with a championship. They were interviewing assistants I never even heard of. I'm not saying I should know every assistant in the NBA because there's so many of them now. I mean, the funniest thing is to go back and look at Nick highlights when they won those two championships. I don't think there was any assistant. And the one year Phil Jackson was hurt, he was like an assistant coach and he became Phil Jackson eventually. But it's so crazy now with all these assistants. But it is what it is. We'll see how it's going to go. But I think the Phoenix Suns, number one, to me, they've waved the white flag before the season has even started.
I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, I think things went south when they got rid of Jamal or what's his name, Bridges, Mikal Bridges. Right? You know what I mean? When they,
Your guy.
my guy, that's that team's, even with Kevin Durant, not getting it done. So, well, good stuff, my friend. Looking forward to football, and you have a good weekend. I know you're going away for a little bit, but we'll catch you when you get home. And folks out there, you can catch Steve's stuff on his daily Facebook forum page. Speaking of sports with Steve Kallas, also his videos on Westchester County Post.com. You can catch me on Instagram at Joe Staszak 4799 or on Twitter X at Joe Staszak 975. Good stuff, my friend.
Always a pleasure, Joe.
You too, pal. Appreciate it, folks, for watching, and we'll catch you next time.